Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, like give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Wakakadash, and Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and his unbegotten Son, Bahashem, and the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashmakadosh, the Holy Tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of prophecy updates as of January the 3rd, 2026 on Saturday. And this is from RT.com, because you had these recent strikes that took place over there in Venezuela. And this is a news article from RT.com. It reads January the 3rd, 2026, and it reads, Maduro declares national state of emergency. Venezuela's government has accused the U.S. of launching attacks on civilians and military installations across several states. Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, has declared a national state of emergency. According to the country's foreign minister, Venezuela government has accused the U.S. of launching attacks on civilians and military installations across several states, rejecting what it describes as a military aggression, according to official statement. It says the government has said that attacks took place in Caracas in the state of Mardenia and LaGuardia. Venezuela authorities have also accused Washington of orchestrating the assault in the attempt to seize the country's oil and mineral resources, pledging that such efforts will not succeed. So as it says again, Maduro declares national state of emergency because you had these recent strikes over there in that area in Venezuela. It says on January 3rd, 2026, and reads, multiple explosions heard in Venezuela, the capital, amending escalation with the U.S. It says Caracas has accused Washington of grave military aggression. And it says multiple explosions were heard earlier on Saturday in Caracas, in Venezuela's capital, according to media reports. Footage from the scene. The blast come amid a deepening standoff between Venezuela and the administration of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who has repeatedly accused the country authorities of linking with drug cartels, as the charge Caracas has denied. And at least 7 explosions and the sound of low-flying aircrafts was heard around 2 a.m. local time. And according to the Associated Press, it says Ortiz Moret Galizavi, who is on the site at the Caracas jet and possible drones, has been heard overhead, adding that they have been reports of helicopters, including what it described as Apex attack helicopters and Chinook troop carrier operating over the capital. He suggested that the activities could indicate U.S. military operation.
Yo sí lo escuché. ¡Vamos! Si es una bomba, la bomba cae en donde sea.
This is CBS. Jennifer Jacobs reported that, citing that unnamed U.S. official said the U.S. president ordered strikes on sites inside Venezuela, including military facilities. It says in a statement, Venezuela authorities accused the U.S. of staging an attack. Officials said they rejected the duplicate of and denounced before the international community in a grave military perpetrated by the current government of the United States of America. This is a saying that Washington has targeted both civilian and military locations in the Caucasus and the state of Mardina and Arkla and Liguria. They added that the objective of the attack is none other than a siege of Venezuela's strategic resource, and particularly its oil and minerals, attempting to break the political independence of the nation by force. It says Venezuela's told Sky News Arabia that the home of the Venezuelan defense ministers as part of the capital were bombed, and a witness told Reuters that as part of the capital has been left without electricity. It says Colombian President Gustavo Petro said without assigning blame to any particular country that right now that they are bombing Caracas, alert to the world that they have attacked Venezuela. He also urged emergency sessions in the UN Security Council.
Chinook helicopters being seen overhead. Let's get straight down to it now. Crossing live to our senior correspondent Murad Gazdiyev for the details on this breaking news situation. Murad, it's 2:40 a.m. where you are right now. What is the situation there in the Venezuelan capital?
Well, about half an hour ago, we were woken by explosions. Indeed, they've continued for about half an hour. The most recent explosion in the hills over there took place about 7 minutes ago. We're hearing jets in the air. These may include drones as well. We've seen reports of strike helicopters, a Chinook troop carrier helicopter, which perhaps signifies also, presumably, American boots on the ground military operations. This is
It says the explosives came amending heightened tensions between Washington and Caracas. Trump has repeatedly accused Venezuela's of government facilitating large-scale drug trafficking and authorized expanding U.S. operations targeting suspected smuggler routes in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. It says Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro has rejected the allegations. It says accusing the U.S. aggression and the U.S. anti-drug operation as a pretext to topple his government. He was warned that any direct military action on this country will be met with resistance. Bring up that Matthews, the 24th chapter, because these are signs of wars and rumors of wars. Because the Trump administration did mention that they was gonna go for a operations strikes inside of Venezuela, and that's what just happened as of 2:40 something on early Saturday morning. This is Matthews 24 and verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, as we're hearing wars and rumors of wars with the latest tensions heating up down in Latin America, Central and South America. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, right? President Trump against President Maduro and his administration over in Venezuela. It says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but then it's not yet, right? So it's going to come to pass, but not going to end yet. So on a daily basis, as we in the year 2026, so expect to see more everyday wars and rumors of wars heating up between these other nations. Matthews 24 verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, right? That's what we're seeing. Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. which goes into Ethnos, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. This is Luke 21, because as of yesterday, Mexico got hit with a 6.5 earthquake. So we're going to be seeing the nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, the famines and pestilent plagues, and earthquakes in diverse places. And the wars and rumors of wars right along with that as well too. This is Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, "And there shall be signs in the sun, and the moon, and the stars upon the earth. Disgrace of nations will perplex the rich one." Right, so that's what we see in our world today, the disgrace of nations, especially with these recent protests taking place over there in Iran. And then with those latest strikes that the United States did inside of Venezuela, and with and plus with the uncertainty, among the nations, and that's what we're seeing with the disgrace of nations will perplex sea rich war, and we see in the signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars as well too that Yahushua spoke about. And this is the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, and verse 24. It says, "And if a kingdom be divided against itself, and the kingdom will not stand." Right, so we see in modern day our kingdoms are being divided, because you're going to have a kingdom within itself be divided, and then outside of another kingdom being divided and going against another kingdom. That's what we're seeing. This is a precept, Luke 21 and verse 11. Verse 10, things to come. Yep, Luke 21, verse 10. "Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." Right, that's what we're seeing. Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom that Yahushua spoke about. This is go up a verse. Luke 21 and verse 9 reads through the Holy Scriptures. "But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet." Right, so that's what we're seeing. Modern day wars and commotions between the armies of nations. "Yeah, but when you should hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet by and by." Right, so it's going to come to pass, but not to that end by and by. It's the book of 2nd Ezra. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 3. It says, "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, uproars, people world." Right, so that's what we're seeing in our world today, modern day earthquakes and uproars, people world. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 15. It says, "For the sword of destruction draweth nigh. One people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands." Right, because you got the Venezuela military on standby against the United States military on standby. Now, according to reports about now that the current administration over here in the United States of North America, they had did those airstrikes inside these military bases of Venezuela. So, if that's the case, that shows that this tensions are really heating up between the Venezuela armies and the United States armies and the administration of the United States versus the administration of Venezuela and their president. So these tensions are really heating up because it first started in last year of August and all the way into now this year. So these are definitely going to be seeing tensions only going to escalate as the days progresses on. This is 2nd Ezra 15 verse 15. "For the sword of destruction draweth nigh. One people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands." Right, so we know the modern day sword is weapons, so that's what we're seeing. Sedition among men. 2nd Ezra 15 verse 16. It says, "For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes, and of course act stand in power." Right, we're going to see citizens rising against their leaders in power, and of course that standing. Yep, it says, and of course their actions stand in power, and that's what we're seeing. Get back to that 2nd Ezra. Yep, 2nd Ezra 9 verse 3. "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, uproars, people world." Right, so increasing earthquakes and uproars, people world. That's what we're seeing. So as it says again, multiple explosions heard in Venezuela capital, amending the escalation with U.S. The Caracas has accused Washington of grave military aggression. And they said Venezuela under attack, U.S. Attack. Foreign Minister says blast has been reported in several parts and Caracas, causing a blackout in some areas. Developing story. It says Venezuela has been attacked by the U.S. as Washington is trying to gain control of the country's natural resources. The Latin American National Foreign Minister Yvonne Gallo has said number of videos has emerged on social media showing major explosions across the Venezuela capital of Caracas, sparking rumors of U.S. attack on Latin America nation. It says one of the clips appears to show that what it looks like several U.S. Chinooks military helicopters flying above the city. It says a CSB Journal report that citing U.S. officials that the president has ordered strikes on Venezuelan military facilities. However, there is so far no official confirmation from Washington. It says as of January 3rd, 2026, 8:50 GMT time, it says footage from the Caracas has captured an explosion rocking the Trotel del Montana. It says the resting place of Hugo Chavez, who served as a president of Venezuela between 2002 and his death is 2013.
Acaban de explotar el 4F.
It says at 8:44 GMT time, the U.S. has hit Venezuela preliminary building, according to the Colombian president Gustavo Petro. At least 11 sites in the countries were attacked, he said. It says U.S. president held a national security meeting at the Milagro before striking Venezuela's. The New York Times has reported the White House not confirmed yet the orders of the strikes.
Mira ya, mira.
In 8:22 GMT time, it says the U.S. Embassy in Caracas has issued a level 4 notice of American citizens saying do not travel to Venezuela for any reasons. It says Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro has imposed a state of emergency over the U.S. attack. It says Latin America's National Foreign Minister Yvonne Gill has said in a statement, the entire country must activate to defeat this imperialism aggression, he said. It says the objective of this attack is none other than the strategic resources of Venezuela. It says particularly its oil and minerals. They will not succeed, Gell insists. 11:18 GMT time, Venezuela condemns a serious military aggression perpetrated against it by the U.S. and the Latin America National Foreign Minister Yvonne Gall has said in a statement. It says the military strikes target civilians in military areas in the Caracas and the state of Mardelia, Alagalra, and La Galera, if I pronounce those right. He said, it says these actions violates the UN Charter and infringe upon Venezuela's sovereignty and endanger millions of people, threatening stability in the region, Gale expressed. It's the prophet Joel, chapter 3, and verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Right, so this is a future prophecy that we're seeing in progress in the making of the nations are being gathered up. Tensions are heating up. So we're seeing the Heavenly Father putting that warlike mindset. These are armies of nations. And this is really being proclaimed among the Gentiles or the armies of the other nations. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Joel 3 verse 10, beat your plowshares and the swords and the pruning hooks and the spears, and let the weak sound strong, right? So you got military soldiers of Venezuela, they on standby. Now, if this is true that the United States went inside Venezuela to further strikes, rather than sieging oil tanks, using airstrikes on smuggling, that people that smuggling drugs into the countries, now they took it up a notch now, because they sent Navy ships and tanks and Navy ships and military capability. Was they deployed it was like 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, and recently. Now, if that report is true that they did that military strike inside the military bases of Venezuela, so that it seems like the tensions are only going to escalate now. It says Joel 3 verse 10, because Venezuelan armies, they've been preparing for this for like a couple of months now. So now, if that is true, that the Trump administration ordered to use military strikes inside these military bases in Venezuela, so that shows that Venezuela most likely they're going to respond back with their military. It says, beat your plowshares and the swords and the plenty hooks at the spears and let the weak sound strong. Right, let the weak sound strong. Because Venezuela, they got allies as well too. Because you got China to back them up. North Korea to back them up. Russia to back them up. Iran to back them up. The pro-Iranian groups as well too. Because I'm pretty sure they got influence in that area throughout Venezuela. So Venezuela is really not alone. So they got allies as well too. This is the book of Revelations. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 9, verse 12. It says, the one woe passed, behold, the two woes come hereafter. Revelation 11, verse 14. The second woe passed, behold, the third woe coming quickly. Right, so the second woe passed, behold, the third woe coming quickly. As it says again, Venezuela under attack, Venezuela is under U.S. attack, foreign minister has reported. It says a blast has been heard in several parts of Caracas, causing blackouts in some areas. Whereas the president of Maduro declared a state of emergency. Maduro declares a national state of emergency. Venezuela government has accused the U.S. of launching attacks on civilians and military installations across several states. So it's best believe Maduro, he's going to respond to this with their military. So that shows that the tensions are only going to increase between Venezuela armies versus United States armies, which they on standby. See some more news articles out there. So this was recent. This was a recent breaking news about 2 hours ago, around about about 2 a.m. in the morning.
MyRawTruth.com and talk to your dermatologist about your symptoms and treatment options. My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Qunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Qunol, brand I trust.
Love your plugins but wish you had more sex control? Meet the Febreze Plus Sex Booster. Enjoy the same 50 days of continuous sex Febreze Plus, including the core for flexible placement options and the boost button for extra sex. Febreze Plus Sex Booster.
And this is a news article from UPI. Michael Hillier. believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And this is from the UPI.com World News as of January the 2nd, 2026 at 3:58 p.m. And it reads, it says, Saudi forces strike Yemen, separatists amending war. It says, from January the 2nd, UPI, Saudi Arabia military struck a United Emirates-backed separatist Yemen on Friday, prompting an unofficial declaration of war from Southern Transitional Council. It says the representations of the separatist Southern Transitional Council of Yemen's Harman government accused Saudi forces of bombing their fighters while they were near Yemen's border with Saudi Arabia. It says they say that the state of war exists in the province, but no casualty reported provided for the military strike that involved Saudi ground and air forces. The Harman province is situated in eastern Yemen, about 500 miles east of Yemen's capital city of Sanya, Saudi Arabia's to its north, and the coast of Aden to its south. It says Harman government Salam al-Kanabasi dismissed the STC war declaration and said that the military operating by Saudi Arabia sought to be peaceful and systematically regime military bases controlled by the STC. Al Jazeera reports the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia has become involved in internal conflict in Yemen with Saudi-backed Yemen government and the ULE and STC. Saudi and Yemen officials have accused the United Arab Emirates of arming ST separatists and encouraging them to seize parts of southern Yemen's Harman and Al-Mahra provinces. The STC representatives have said they intend to hold a vote. I don't know why this came up. It says STC representatives said they intend to hold a vote referendum in 2 years to decide. It's an official declaration. An independent state will be delivered. It says Yemen has already in a deadly civil war that started in 2014, and SDC planning a vote could make the fighting more frequent and intense and worsening conditions in what is considered as one of the world's most improvised nations. The civil war has created a famine condition with the nations that has already experienced many deadly conflicts since the civil war began. Yep, Revelations 11 verse 14. The second will pass, behold the third will coming quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold the third will coming quickly. This is a precept to that. This is St. Mark chapter 13 and verse 7. When ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, be not troubled, for such things must need be, but the end shall not be yet. Right, so it must need be, but the end shall not be yet. Right, so it's going to come to pass, but it's not going to end just yet. So these modern day wars, commotions that we're seeing are heating up, especially the tensions between, Saudi Arabia coalition forces together going against the Houthi rebels over there in southern Yemen. Those tensions are escalated once again because you've been having the Saudi Arabia armies been clashing against the Houthi rebels over there in Yemen, I would say from 2015 on all the way to now. And this is St. Mark chapter 13 verse 8. It says, for nation shall rise against nation. Right, that's what we're seeing. Nation shall rise against nation. We're seeing the tensions heating up over there in the South China Sea. China versus Taiwan. And then we got China versus the United States that have been heating up. And then you got tensions over there in the Korean Peninsula. North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, and the United States that have been heating up. We've been seeing the Russia-Ukraine situation that have been intensifying. We've been seeing tensions heating up over there in Western Asia. Iran versus Israel. Tensions are heating up once again between the United States armies and the Iranian armies and the proxy groups going against the Israel Defense Force throughout Western Asia. So these are signs of modern day wars and rumors of wars. It says St. Mark chapter 13, verse 8. Tensions down there in Sudan that's been heating up once again. Sudan and South Sudan. Tensions are heating up over there in Myanmar. And tensions are heating up in the land of Ham and there down there in Africa between Congo and Rwanda once again. It says, for nation shall rise against nation. Tensions heating up between the borders of Afghanistan and Tajikistan, and then between the borders of India and Pakistan. Those tensions are heating up once again. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows, right? So Yahweh Shai says these just the beginning of sorrows, which is only going to continue to increase. Get back to that Luke 21, verse 25. Then I'm going to get to that Ecclesiasticus, the third chapter. This is the book of Luke 21. Luke 21, verse 20. Luke 21, verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. Right, we're seeing the signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars that the Heavenly Father showing us. What's that? Second Esdras, the 9th chapter. We're seeing these plain beginning and powerful works and the effects and signs. He says there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and upon the earth disgressive nations. Right, as we're seeing upon the earth disgressive nations. A nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, modern day ruler against modern day ruler. That's what we're seeing. It says, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, upon the earth disgressive nations, for perplexed sea born. Luke 21, verse 26. Man hearts failing them for fear and for look for those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven should be shaken. Yep. And this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season, and every purpose. It says, for there is a time of season, and every purpose of heaven. Right, so we're living in modern day times of season, and every purpose of heaven, which is modern day biblical signs and the signs of times. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 2. In a time to be born, in a time to die, in a time to plant, in a time to pluck up the which is planted. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 3, and it reads, in a time to kill, in a time to heal, in a time to break down, in a time to build up. Verse 4, in a time to weep, in a time to laugh, in a time to mourn, in a time to dance. Verse 5, in a time to cast away stones, in a time to gather stones together, in a time to embrace, in a time to refrain from embrace. Book of Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 6, in a time to get, in a time to lose, in a time to keep, in a time to cast away. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 7 reads, in a time to rent, in a time to sow, in a time to keep silent, in a time to speak. Right, because prophecies are speaking. What's that? Habakkuk 2, verse 3. This is Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 8. In a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, in a time of peace. Right, so we're definitely living in a time of war. Because we're seeing wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, the kingdom against kingdom, building up on a daily basis around the world. So we're definitely living in a time of HATE is increasing, and we're living in a time of war. So that's something that will continue to increase. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, and verse 8. It says, the prophets that have been before thee and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence. Right, so just like the prophets of old of Jeremiah, when they was on the scene, they was prophesying against great countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence. And that's what's taking place in our world today in modern day times. We're seeing the wars, evils, and the pestilence, which is only going to continue to increase. This is the book of Jeremiah 28, verse 9, and it reads, it says, the prophet was prophesied of peace when the word of prophecy come to pass. Then should the prophet be known that Yahweh has surely sent. Right, so just like the prophets of old, when they was on the scene, prophecies came to pass, be fulfilled, and that's what's taking place once again in these times. This is the book of Habakkuk. It's the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verse 3, and it reads, it says, for the vision is yet for the appointed time, but the end shall speak. Not lie, tarry, wait for it, because we should come, not tarry. Right, so the prophecies are not tarrying, they are increasing. because we're in those modern day times and seasons of modern day biblical signs are increasing in our world today. And this is the book of Matthew 24 and verse 6 once again. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, so tensions are really escalating, as I mentioned it once before. Now that the United States did military strikes inside of Venezuela now, and they target some of their military bases. I believe it's like in a couple of 11 different locations, as I read that news articles, as of 1 or 2 o'clock a.m. Early in the morning, that you've been having airstrikes over there in the carcass of Venezuela, inside those military bases, because you have the president Maduro has declared a state of emergency because of the United States aggression, potentially targeting civilians and the military bases. So most likely, we're gonna see Maduro might respond back to this. So we want to know what his response is gonna be. So he declared state of emergency, and he called out the United States for their reckless airstrikes against civilians in that military bases and airstrikes into their country. So we're gonna see how this plays out. We're gonna see how Venezuela's gonna respond back. But in the meantime, this is definitely wars heating up between these nations. So expect to see more heavy increasing activities over there in the Caribbean Sea, down there off the coast of Venezuela. Tensions heating up between, down there in Central and South America as well too. Matthew 24 and verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, so these what you call modern day wars, rumors of wars between the nations or armies. It says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not in trouble for all these things must first come to pass, but then it's not yet. Matthew 24 verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. As it says again, Saudi forces strike Yemen. Separatists are mainly war. It says six unalive during a widened protest sparks by Alliant Economy. Uproars of people in the world.
Tucson real estate developer Gary Triano used some debt like Carmine. A lot of people wondering.
And this is from the TimeMagazine.com, January 3rd, 2026 at 3:18 Central Standard Time. It says U.S. launches military strikes against Venezuela following a month of threats against Maduro. It says this is published by Richard Hill, editor from the Time.com. It says the United States launched a military strikes against Venezuela early hours on Saturday morning, in a significant escalation of the Trump administration efforts to outlast the country's president, Nicolas Maduro. It says several explosions were reported by witness in the capital, Caracas, between around 2 a.m. local time. Video post shows social media shows large explosions and what appears to be U.S. military aircraft flying lower over the city. It says the Venezuelan government says that the attacks also occur in the states Madeira, Alagoas, and the La Galera. Photos show parts of the Fortaleza of Venezuela's largest military complex engulfed in flames. It says President Trump reportedly ordered the strikes inside Venezuela days ago. right? Because he spoke about this a couple of months ago as well too. I would say like 2+ months ago, and recently as well too. It says, according to the CBS News, after months of threats to expand U.S. bombing campaign against alleged drug boats to target inside the country, it says Trump has repeatedly called on Maduro to illegitimate president and accusing him of being responsible for the smuggling drugs into the country. It says he said in an interview last month that Maduro's days are numbered. It says President Maduro declared a state of emergency in response to the attacks, according to the statement from the Venezuela Communication Ministry. This statement says the government rejects, reduplicates, and denounces U.S. military aggression. It says at least 115 people were unalive since September in U.S. strikes against alleged boats that Trump administration claims are smuggling drugs. Analysts and legal experts has questioned the legality of the boat strikes, which have been carried out without Congress approval. The Trump administration has been building up military forces in the region for months, right down there in Puerto Rico, in the Caribbean Sea as well too, in Central and South America. It says a ratcheting up threats against Venezuela's government. The Pentagon deported 10 F-35 to Puerto Rico. It says the U.S. General Ford, thought to be the largest, most advanced aircraft carrier in the world. It says recently joined 8 warships and some 10,000 troops already in the region. It says Trump also authorized the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, to conduct covert operations in Venezuela. Maduro responds directly to the revelation, calling the move a desperate attempt to a regime change. It says a Pentagon spokesperson refers to the time question to the White House that the White House did not respond to a request for comment. And once again, then I'm gonna close it out. Yep, this is the book of Matthew 24 and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, right? Venezuela armies versus United States armies. The Venezuela president of his administration versus Donald Trump and their administrations. Yep, it says for nation shall rise against nation, right? That's what's in the militaries of Venezuela versus the United States militaries in Central and South America and off the coast of Venezuela and over there in the Caribbean Sea as well too. For nation shall rise against nation, because you had Maduro declared of us a state of emergency in this country after those military strikes, which was ordered from the Trump administration, which they have not made officially yet, made that announcement yet, but very soon they might potentially make that announcement. It says Matthew 24 verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, which goes to ethnos. It says, there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying of the prophecy updates as of January the 3rd, 2026 on this Saturday. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Makokodash, and the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and his unbegotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are their true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lost Wagadosh, the Old Tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, while Akim or Akwa from the next time, I would say Shalom.